Hello and welcome to this Warhammer 40k 8th edition video with me, Mark, from the Xenovision channel, and with me of course I have the one, the only.
I'm Iain, hello.
Iain, hello. So we have played a few games of 8th edition, so we just thought a handful with varying armies, and I wanted to talk about our impressions of 8th edition. So, firstly, do you like it?
Yes.
There we go, that's the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment, share, like.
Yeah, no, it's obviously it's still fairly new, so there's some creases that need ironing out. But overall, general impression, thumbs up.
Good, yes, still looking at the meta, what's good for army lists at the moment. I see a lot of people varying in their opinion of what kind of army. Do you go hordes, do you go still monsters, the monster mash armies, do you combine it all? But the rules itself, they are very simplified, but we are still finding it is taking a good few hours to play. But it is a little bit, yeah, I'm just slow at life, really. So I thought we could go through a general overview of kind of the armies in the 40k universes. This video is coming out just before the Grey Knight and Chaos Codexes, so only the Space Marines have come out. The new Space Marines look cool. We just went to our local retailer, had a look at them.
I'm not sure about the hover tank.
The hover tank, no. I don't really know why hover tank's coming. Whether they want a bit more manoeuvrability with Space Marines, not too sure on that one. But let's go through some of the armies and see what we think they've benefited or not so benefited. So Space Marines, let's just do an overview of Space Marines. So they got a little bit slower in their movement. Their weapons are still strong. Las cannons are still really good.
Las cannons are very good now.
Points wise, have you found they stay the same or
roughly? I think they might have lost points here, gained points there. It's roughly the same though.
So roughly the same. They've got a brand new codex. They're the first codex out. They are the poster boys of Games Workshop. Still resilient, still good at combat in that regard. Psychic is good. Smite will go on to more a little bit later with the Psychic armies, especially with things such as Grey Knights. We've played a few games with Grey Knights. We found Terminators are really good now, double wound models. Paladins in Grey Knights are 3 wounds apiece, which is good, so a little bit more resilience there. Obviously their tanks have gained lots of wounds, more so they're more resilient, which is good. But there's things like Smite, which is your favourite thing in the world now. You love it. So when you have an army of Grey Knights which can cause coughing
I wasn't really a fan of psychic abilities beforehand. I just never use them because I like to it's the dwarf in me, just smash and bang and wallop. And even more so now, I'm not a huge fan of psychic.
And now with Smite, which we found in a recent battle report, I'd have 5 units do Smite, and if they're causing 2 mortal wounds apiece, that's 10 wounds. That's an extra shooting phase, as you said.
That's a whole unit.
A whole unit can be decimated like that. Now, there are a lot of armies out there that don't have Psychic, such as Tau, Necrons, Dark Eldar. Limited Psychic in most Space Marine armies. You don't see a lot of Librarians there. But like I said earlier, I think potentially the Psychic phase was a big jumble of confusion in the last edition. They've simplified it, given this Smite ability, which is only, you need to roll a 5 on 2 dice, which is really easy.
I think that's what it is. It's so easy to get off.
You get those extra things, but on the flip side, for those armies that weren't as strong, you now take a couple of Psychers, you've got some extra assassin-y, snipey shots.
Which is fine, but for Grey Knights, they're already reasonably strong. Okay, they're a bit elitist, but they're reasonably strong. So you're adding something to make them even stronger.
Yeah.
It has made them a force to be reckoned.
And in the list I do 1,500 points of Grey Knights, 500 and something points of an Imperial Knight. So then I've got super shooting ability, super psychic ability, so I don't need to maneuver because I've got things that deep strike as well. Terminators, again, reliable. Deep strike 9 inches away from your opponent, reliable. That's drop pods are still the same. Reliable, reliable, reliable. You can get to where you need to be and not worry about scattering off and hurting yourself, stubbing your toe on a rock.
No, but I don't know. I know it's the meta's advanced and the storyline has advanced, but I kind of still liked some of the unpredictability. Not necessarily all of it, but it's kind of taken it completely out now. Whereas there'd still be that kind of thing. If you were in a war, you'd still have that kind of the occasional unpredictability. Don't get me wrong, a few games back, the last one of 7th edition that we played, and you played as Grey Knights, that did take it to the extreme because half your army came in and then died because they mishaps. But whether it's something like they come in and actually whilst they're setting up, so they've deep struck in whilst they're setting up, they're a bit slower or a bit less alert to what's going on because they're not in the fray at that time. But I don't know,
or even use a command. Your opponent uses a command point, redeploys them 6 inches away or something. So you're not that close for charging, and it gives you help you out.
And turn 1, I don't understand why they've done it. Turn 1, there's supposed to be reinforcements. How do you know you need reinforcements on turn 1? You don't. It's nice, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure I'll use it at some point, but it doesn't irk me, but I've got a bit of a question about the deep striking.
Yeah, I feel armies that have ability of deep striking units, so you got your Trigons, your Raveners, your Swooping Hawks, the Scourges from Dark Eldar. Now that unit has got a bigger buff to it, which is good for your armies, if that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, all the rules are very streamlined. The movement, you look at the movement characteristic on the model. Simple as.
I think that's a lot nicer.
Shooting, it says on your template, you shoot. You now, the table is very easy to read for new people and old.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot simpler and a lot easier to pick up.
The psychic phase, that's been simplified. The assault phase, we were saying we like the alternating of close combating, which is good, so it gives you a reason to go into close combat, and as we saw in today's battle report, you can overwatch multiple units if you fail the charge, which is also cool. It's just learning these rules, and then I can be quicker during these battles. So we think Space Marines, they obviously got a bit of a buff.
We've not really played many games of Space Marines.
It's just kind of in Grey Knights.
It's just the Grey Knights, and they're kind of obviously a separate entity.
So deep striking, so those armies that you love, the deep striking and the Terminators, they got buffed because that's more reliable.
Yeah.
And so that's just good.
If any of you know that we've got the Christmas Cup coming up at Christmas,
strangely
enough.
Yeah.
I'm taking a Space Marine army, which I'm very excited about.
I'm a little bit jealous. You've got 30 Terminators, something like that.
30 Terminators.
6 5-man units, potentially. I don't know. That's the only things I kind of really know what's going to be happening. Land Raiders are really good. They're really resilient, and Las Preds are pretty cool, and which you need nowadays, a unit of just solidly attacking monsters and vehicles and stuff. So let's go down. It's going to be crazy. Let's go to Astra Militarum. So Astra Militarum, so vehicles got a buff this edition because there's no more one-shot kills. There would be times where I would roll against your tanks, I'd roll a 6 to go on the penetrating hit table, roll a 6, make that bad boy explode. You've just lost 200 points and a key part of your thing. Nowadays, you're
It can
not
still be
gonna
done.
lose.
Obviously, if you're depending on what you're firing at it, like las cannons are multi-wound. They do multi-wound damage.
Yes.
So if you fire a couple of them, and if you get extremely lucky, you might destroy a vehicle in one go with a couple of weapons. But it's not a single weapon now. It will take a lot more.
It will take you more and possibly more units to kill these monsters or vehicles, which benefits the defensive player and makes it more fun, because you put so much time, money and investment into these models. You put them down and then you take them straight away. That's not good. I've just spent 50 odd quid on this.
However,
it's gone.
As well as it not being able, like, single shot can't do it, you've also got the added bonus now of even bolters can hurt a Land Raider. So they've kind of made it easier to hit them, but harder at the same time.
Exactly. So that's more shooty goodness. So Astra Militarum, traditionally a shooty army.
Yep.
Traditionally, you can have your foot slogging units. You have lots of those, or your vehicle units. They're the two most common. Or you can mix them together for a third option, where you combine a gunline army and tank army together. Tanks did get a bit more expensive, but again they needed to, because they've just got the buffs for their extra wounds. Armor save now. You didn't have a save before. You just relied on your armor. And their weapons are very good, but it's just a case of learning what weapons are good against specific targets. There's no point shooting a battle cannon at a single wounded model when you could just use a heavy bolter on it. But then you've got a monstrous creature. Heavy bolters might do something. Use your battle cannon against it.
It is learning the game. I'm going to make a prediction here that one of my favourite units in Astra Militarum might be a little bit better.
Your
Bullgrins or
your Shrek
Ogrins.
models.
Yeah.
The little Wayne Rooneys.
They were quite durable before, and from last Battle League, they kind of were often the ones at the end to be still on the table.
Good objective, Mark. Holders.
So I think they might have, hopefully they might be there again, be improved. And as you said, all the tanks are
better. Your individual men with your las guns, again, you've just said they're better because you can shoot. Your guns now can hurt things.
Shoot different things in the same unit as well, which is quite nice.
But still weak against assaults. So like we said, armies, say Tyranids, that have that ability to drop in now and more manoeuvrability, and they're faster and they get in your face so quickly. That is a big weakness. You do have to really, again, understand your army, understand what weapons are best, and really focus on the tactics in the game. We've had times where you've really had to rack your brains. It's taken 5 turns of meticulous movement, shooting, and
it all comes together.
It all comes together in the end. But if you don't, and you underestimate your opponent, you're going to fail. So Astra Militarum, gunline, shooting is still strong. Overwatching is still strong. They do have ability of psychers, but close combat they're not so good. So let's move down a little bit more. Imperial Knights. So
I think these are going to be, as much as they're expensive points wise,
yep,
I think they're going to be worth it.
I think my Imperial Knight, which comes in at 500 and something points, has a Gatling cannon which is 12 shots, stroke 6, -2 AP and 2 damage apiece. It has a heavy, rapid fire heavy cannon, which is you roll 2d6 for, which has multiple damage. You've got a heavy stubber, you've got a heavy flamer. You can change the heavy stubber, I believe, for a melter if you wanted to, which is insane. And then I've got an Icarus cannon on top to help out against those units that fly, which now has a lot. There's a lot of Crisis, Gargles, Hive Tyrants that fly with wings. Storm Boys. There's more. I believe Skimmers also have the fly special rule.
So there's quite a lot.
So you get that additional advantage. Now that is a... You stay there, you shoot, you do a lot of damage. You have a whole... You get 3 to 4 of them in an army. I'd probably ally them to buff other armies.
Yeah. Although it would be nice eventually, one day maybe,
An Imperial Knight army.
if I had the money to do an actual Imperial Knight army. I've got one already.
I've got one.
I think it would be just a case of, at the minute, just allying.
Their movement is still good. Strength toughness is 8. 24 wounds. Good leadership. I believe a 3-up save and a 5-up invulnerable in the shooting phase. All these super weapons. It's now
stomp and all that stuff. Or it attacks with its feet. So
yeah, you've got different profiles which help you better than a Wraith Knight now.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was close before, but now I think the Imperial Knights have just kind of edged it.
I believe it used to be like 6 wounds before and a high armor value. Now they're 24 wounds, toughness 8. So
they're mini Titans basically.
Yeah, and they're dangerous. But again, if you can maneuver around them and get those high strength shots, you've really got to think about what to do. Chaos Space Marines. Now, like we said, Chaos Space Marines, there's a new codex coming out and a Death Guard codex coming out. So this is pre those things. But let's just say you rewrote your 2,000 point list and you said it was a little bit under.
It was a little bit under. I may have forgotten some stuff, but because the army building app that I've got glitches sometimes, you know how it is. So I may have forgotten some stuff or whatnot, but I'm fairly sure it was a little bit under, so I've managed to add a couple of things, which is quite nice.
What I've seen is that Defiler is resilient and has different weapons for different things. You can do multi-shots against heavy.
He's coming back into his own, the Defiler. He wasn't amazing.
He's got that fart gun.
Gore Storm Cannon.
Which can be good against Horde troops. You've got all of the Specialist Marines, so your Plague Marines, the Thousand Suns, they all have their special rules. Khorne essentially attacks twice in combat.
As far as I'm aware, pardon me, sorry. As far as I'm aware, yeah, that's what their blood for the Blood God or whatever.
The Plague Marines have disgusting resilience, so that's a 5-up. Essentially, feel no pain. You've got
Zinch have or the Zinch Rubric Marines have anything that's shooting against them that's a damage of 1 characteristic. They get a +1 to their armor save, which is huge because it means that you have to take something that's multi-wounding to get it for its 3+.
Yeah, the only real good counter I can see is Shuriken Cannons, where if you roll a 6 it does minus damage to it, and Shuriken Cannons are quite cheap in the Eldar Codex.
Are they still 1 damage?
They are 1 damage, but again, if you roll a 6 it's -3 modifier.
So it would actually be only -2 modifier because of the +1.
Yeah, so they're quite good. And I've seen some stuff today about Slaanesh. Slaanesh is getting a bit of a buff where they go into combat, they automatically go first, which is cool. And then they've got psychic powers that on a 5-up, wounds aren't taken at certain points in the game, which is a good psychic. Essentially, they're disgustingly resilient, but you get it from the psychic phase, and then your additional buff of going into combat. So Slaanesh might be good to combat those armies like Tyranids. Now, you're going to charge you, I'll wait, but Slaanesh always go first. So what are you going to do about it? Still elite and a lot of points. I mean, your 10-man unit of Rubric Marines was 207 points.
Yeah.
So if you have multiple of these elite Marines, that's going to be 600 points, maybe even more. A lot of people use the Pox, what are they called? The cultists with Mark of Nurgle. They seem to be used by quite a few people that I've seen. and they get the disgustingly resilient. So you've got your cheap units, but with your 5-up feel no pain on there. They can be for objective markers or running forward, being a speed bump for those armies that just get in the way, kind of thing. Anything more on Chaos Space Marines? Do you think Helldrakes?
I've not used them.
Someone said on the comments that Helldrakes were good. We need to look into that.
Okay.
But no, yeah, Chaos Space Marines, I believe, are getting a lot of love.
Yeah, I think they're doing all right. Before, they weren't in the top, they weren't in the bottom, they weren't terrible. They were all right. Now, I think they're just edging up towards the top of the army. Not quite there, but edging up there.
Again, with Chaos, you've got Chaos Demons. Last edition, if you had a lot of money, Chaos Demons were your friends. You could just summon all the demons that you wanted. Now, not so much. You have to put a certain amount of points to one side for your demons. Say you do a 1600 point list. Say it's 2000 points, you do 1600 points on the table. You keep 400 points to one side. Then when you see what your opponent's bringing to the table, you decide what you're going to spend those 400 points on. So you can't remake lots and lots and lots and lots and lots over and over and over again. So I think demons kind of lost out a little bit. They're not hugely strong, they're not reliable, and I see less and less people using demons at all. I mean, if I had lots of money, I would do a Chaos army and then just have a couple of units of each faction's demons. So the Bloodletters, a greater demon of the greater demons are always cool. You've got a few of those. Plague Bearers are cool. So that would be the only reason. I don't see the huge appeal with Chaos Demons anymore. An army I do like, Orcs. So Orcs. Movement got a little bit less in some cases. They used to be able to move 6 inches, the infantry, anyhow. Now it's 5 inches, again going a bit slow and lumbering.
That doesn't make any difference though, because you just put them in trucks.
Yeah, trucks got a little bit better. Bikes,
occasionally.
Bikes move fast. The shooting has stayed the same.
They're close combat though. They're much better. They can hit easier.
Yeah.
And if you've got stuff like a 30-man squad of orcs, yeah, it's so powerful to get all of these hits.
Yeah.
And then you're hitting all on 3s, and then most of the time it's 4s or 5s.
That's the big thing. They're hitting on 3s in combat. That's it. Standard 3 up. -1 to power claws, so that's what it would have been normally
that's
anyway.
Still 50-50, and now because of the way it works, you're not going last. You don't have to stand there and go, oh, I hope my power claw survives. On top of which, you can allocate the wounds, so your power claw is going to survive until the end, more often than not. But you still get to attack before your opponent does. So.
If you see our last
Brilliant.
battle report with Orcs though, they did get tabled.
Yeah.
It was fun to play them, and we were saying as the game went along, they had got better. I mean, in that scenario, they were facing off against an army with lots of shooting. So it'd be interesting to see armies that have less different types of shooting as we go along.
I think they are a fun army.
I mean, in the last edition, took them for the Christmas Cup last year, and it was pretty obvious by turn 2 that I'd lost.
I don't, unless they kind of change them a little bit when their codex comes out. I don't see them being. I still think they're fairly low down on the scheme of things, but their fun factor is probably at the top. So.
Like it should be, and so they got a bit of buff in combat, which is good. Eldar. We'll do it separately. Eldar, let's go with Craftworld Eldar. If you brought Eldar to the table,
everybody would be shocked. It's your army.
It is an auto win. Pretty much an auto win.
Wow,
they were
old.
they were under price. Basically, they got lots of buffs with their last codex, lots of love. A couple of point reductions, in fact. They got the Wraith Knight, which was huge and hard to kill, and this giant, fast monolith. D weapons, so much D weapons.
Monolith neck.
This giant thing. So many D weapons, which I loved because I was Eldar, and we finally got the love that we desired so much, but it went a bit too much, and it made it hard for your opponent to combat that. Now some things have changed. We're still extremely fast. Craft World Eldar are extremely fast, manoeuvrable. Missile launchers are incredible. The Eldar missile launcher is brilliant. The Shuriken is still as strong as it was, and
stronger.
A lot of people are taking it because you've got your potential minuses to armor, which is going to hurt a lot of different things because you can hurt vehicles now, for example, any vehicle with it. The Wraith Knight and jet bikes kind of lost out there. Jet bikes became fast attack again. They lost an armor save, which means most weapons are going to have a -1 modifier, so they're now 5 ups. They did gain a wound, but they lost an armor, and the Wraith Knight, I just don't feel it's got the punch. It's resilient, you've got to do a lot of shots into it, but it's not got the same punch, and its points went up. I had a 1980 point army, and I did the same army with the same app you use, and it was 2,200 and something. So they gained by at least 200 to 250 points with the units that I use.
10%.
So 10%. So that now means I have to go away and have a look, rewrite the army. Again, we don't know what the meta's like, what's good, bad. I'm going to have to kind of work that out. But they got more costly, which then brings them from this top of the pyramid. I would probably say there's 3 parts to the pyramid: the top tier, the middle tier, and the bottom tier. And I would say from the top, they've gone down to the mid, but they're still extremely strong at shooting. They have the chance and potential of having so many psychics. You have your Farseers and Warlocks on bikes for maneuverability. You go around, you can snipe and then support your other ones, because they're doing 2 psychic powers a turn usually. Some might be doing even 3. You then have your fast vehicles being able to move across, shoot, move across, shoot, then come out of combat because they have the fly special rule, which is awesome. So I'm going to have to relearn Craft World. Battle Focus isn't as strong, their points went up, so they've gone down a little bit to the 2nd tier. I wouldn't say the bottom of the 2nd tier.
No, I'd say it's still quite near the top of the 2nd tier.
They're each unit, even more so now, does a specific job, and because they're more points, I've had to take, for example, my jetpack unit from my 2,000 point list, and I'm still over 2,000 points. So I now really have to focus on the old ethos of every unit has to do a certain thing. Eldar are a dying race; they're an elite army. You have to know your opponent inside out. You have to know your units inside out and understand perfectly the scenarios of what can happen. So it will make me a better player for the new edition, but it means it's not going to be as, what's the word? If I make more mistakes than I should be doing,
as forgiving.
Yeah, that's the one. It's not going to be as forgiving, the army. Sticking with the Eldar theme, Dark Eldar. Movement. These guys are incredible. They are fast as well. No psychic powers though, so no sniping of smite or buffing your units. Shooting. Still very strong shooting. I mean, they're poison weapons, which are usually, I think they're either rapid fire or heavy. You put them on a vehicle, it becomes assault. So you have the maneuverability, essentially similar to Shuriken, but it's a poison weapon which is doing awesomeness. So they're Shooting is incredible now, much better. They have combat units which are quite expensive for their points, but they have the combat units. Combat is now a lot better, and there's more incentive to get combat units for that reason. But in that regard, I feel they did get a lot better. Movement is still good, shooting is still good. So I would say they were part of the bottom. Now they're now in between bottom to mid tier, I would say, with that one. Harlequins, they did get better. They've got really fast again, Eldar. They've got some good combat. They do have the ability to advance and charge, but they're so elite-y, your Overwatch is probably going to kill 2 or 3 of them before they get to you. But then in combat, they've got 4 attacks each, and they're doing -1 and potentially multi-damage to you. And then Inari, which is the latest thing to come out for Eldar. Basically, if you have infantry units, you want to say they're Inari, because if you kill something, and a unit dies within 7 inches of an Inari model, you get to do a movement, a shooting, or a combat thing for free, which is incredible. You do have to be 7 inches away, which means you do have to be close. If you're that close, you're probably going to get charged or whatever, but it means that you get an extra thing to do, which is why Inari are extremely strong. And it also combines a lot of the Harlequin Eldar and Dark Eldar together, so you can kind of put them into one battle banner. But again, Eldar are not as tough. They are fast. Their shooting is brilliant, but the points are still quite expensive, so that's balanced them out a little bit more. Following this is Necrons.
We can only speculate on this.
We haven't played a game with Necrons.
Necrons yet. I think they're going to be quite resilient.
They're not going to be. What was the last? What was it? Decurion. Decurion was extremely. That was the start of Games Workshop going too far. You have your power ceiling, and they would break through that ceiling because they are so resilient. There'd be 4 up reanimation protocols, on top of the fact they're mostly toughness 4 and 3 up save, which is really good anyway, and they've got good strong shooting ability.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be that standard. I think they're kind of. I envision.
Do you? Do you
envisage? I envisage them being similar to the Space Marines, not quite getting as much love as the Space Marines at the minute, but still getting reasonably progressive, and they're shooting, they're good, they're resilient, which means that they can get into close combat normally, and they can kind of stand in close combat. It's not like they're Tau that are rubbish at close combat, but it's not like they're Grey Knights that will just come in and hammer your head.
Yeah,
they're kind of midway for close combat, but they're quite good in shooting, and they're fairly resilient. Points wise, I don't know. I've got to redo the list for it to see what's going on. But
yeah, I agree. They're a brick wall.
Yeah,
they're a brick wall, and they've got good weapons that range mid-range, 24 inches to 36, I believe. And that's it, really. That's all we can really say. We're not too fond of Necrons, I believe. Your army next, your main army, Tau Empire. So let's go through.
If it would be my main army now.
Probably Space Marines. So movement for Tau. You're fast.
Yeah, reasonably.
You have the Ghost Kill, which can infiltrate. You've got your battle suits and Manta things where you can deep strike reliably and do essentially what my Grey Knight army does and have them deep strike. You've got your floozies, your fusions and plasmas, which seem to be extremely effective now. You can shoot more than 2 weapons at a time. So you can put these battle suits with 3 or 4 weapons. A popular one at the moment is 4 Fusion Commander. So you deep strike him in, he's there at that Land Raider or Laspred or 2 there, and he can fire the 2 weapons and then do d6 damage apiece, I believe, and really hurt your opponent whilst you have your battle line at the back. There's no psychic powers in Tau. They lack
they're good shooting. They're rubbish at close combat. They're abysmal at psychic. They are the same as what Tau were before. However, I think they're a little bit overpriced.
I'd agree. For what they can do.
But I'd say they're probably one of the top teams in the middle tier.
I'd agree. They are around the same as Eldar, which is, in the previous edition, they were pretty strong again. In this one, they're a little bit overpriced. They don't have any psychic abilities at all. But you're going to have to, as a Tau player, I guess, kind of think about what benefits are good. The Crisis battle suits, they're not the resilient things they were. They are literally a planned attack. It's like, right, your right flank has a lot of heavy weaponry. My fusions, doof, I don't have to worry about scattering or anything. They're there, damaged you.
Not that I worried about scattering.
No, because you were always good at that. And take those vehicles or monstrous creatures down a few tiers so that they're not as effective, and then your fire warriors mop them up with the help of Pathfinders. Now, you don't have a Storm Surge. I don't know how good a Storm Surge is now, but that is essentially the Imperial Knight of the Tau.
I think that was going to be my next purchase for the Tau, but that's going to be a little way off at the minute because I am still focusing on other armies. I've just got a couple more things for Space Marines to get, and at the beginning of this year I also said that I wanted to show my Chaos a little bit more love as well, get a few more variants of them. So Tower are a little bit down the way, but yeah, it would be a Storm Surge.
Yes.
Which would be nice.
The next 2 on the list are armies that I love. One of my most fondest armies, Tyranids.
Sisters of
Not Sisters of Battle. So Tyranids, my Tyranids, I've always liked them from the start. I've collected them now for over 10 years. Tyranids got the most love in this new edition, and I think 9 out of 10 people will agree with that statement. Movement, everything is so fast. Minimum of 6 inches most of the time. Some things, you're moving so fast that you get a turn 1 charge, which is incredible.
Not just that, like your correct me if I'm wrong, some of your army psychic, or some of your things make it so that you can advance and charge in the same turn. So you're almost doubling your movement straight away, with the prospect of charging as well.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. 24 inches or so in the first turn.
And a lot of the weapons are assault. You can advance and shoot assault weapons. You get a -1 modifier to your shots, so you'll be hitting on 5s most of the time. But still, that is huge.
So basically, this is how Games Workshop see the future.
Lots of
Tyranids just taking over everything.
Psychic is good.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of psychic, like you said, buffing psychic. Smite is still good. Shooting, Tyranids are quite shooty, and
they've got a lot of little guns though.
The biggest complaint I had in the previous edition was usually when I played your Necrons, where I would have a lot of strength 6, and then I'd shoot it against your armour, and it was armour value 13, so I couldn't do a single thing to it. Now, any weapon can hurt things, so I can start stripping down your hull points, and in advance, my Gene Stealers can advance and go into combat. Trigon Primes can come up, no scattering, and with them I can have a unit of 30 gaunts with them, with guns, or 30 gaunts of the Hormagaunts. Scything Talons are back. Roller 1, you re-roll it, which is what it used to be 2 codexes ago. Combat.
Do you reckon someone's excited about Tyranids?
A little bit. Combat is huge. As you've seen with how you've been doing combat, you get into combat, you pile in, and oh, I'm an inch away from another unit. That unit is now technically in combat. So you've nullified a unit's shooting ability. Even if I know I'm going to lose combat eventually, I've nullified that unit's ability to do something. So they're fast, they've got psychic, they've got a lot of little shooting, and their combat is good. There's not a lot of bad things about Tyranids now, which is huge, and they're going to be extremely hard to defeat, I believe. And if someone knows how to play them extremely well, they're going to do really well at tournament scenes. That's what I see for the Tyranids. Genestealer Colts, they are similar to what they used to be. They can ambush in. They're still really weak as in resilience and armor save. They do have a rule in the index which says you can use any unit from the Astra Militarum Codex. So you can really do a fluffy list as if it's full-on Genestealer Cult, like the whole planet has been taken over where you use those models, or to the point where it's just starting out to twist the minds of the men on the planet. So you have these Astra Militarum guys in their uniform, not looking like they've been morphed or deformed or turned into these Genestealery things. But it means you could essentially have a unit of Genestealers, the Primera, no, that's Space Marines, the Psychic guy, essentially the Broodlord, and then a whole Astra Militarum army, and say, these are my Genestealer Cults. So you got more options. Essentially, they gave you more options without having to make new or conversion models, such as you can buy a Lehman Russ, a Genestealer Cult Lehman Russ. You don't need to do that now. You just buy a Lehman Russ. Games Workshop don't need to worry about making a Genestealer Cult Chimera. You just buy it and paint it the colour scheme you want. So they made it easier for them. Mauve. So yeah, like I said, new codexes are coming out. We will see more about the power scaling there. What kind of things are looking good. I see Space Marines as more resilient and more reliable with your deep striking. Eldar are even faster, and you really have to work on their strengths to do things. Orcs got better, but are still hilarious in every way. Tau, bit overpriced. Gonna have to work around how to play them. Is it the way forward of Fire Warriors? Is it the way forward of Crisis Teams? Is it still good to take multiple? What's the big guys called? Not Storm Surges, the other one, the littler. The Riptides.
Yeah.
And Tyrion just got incredible. So much love from that one. So that's our opinions on 8th edition. Let us know if you agree, or
Is this your card?
this is not my card, or don't agree, or if there's anything we've missed with the armies. What, in your opinion, is the best thing that's happened to your army, and what, in your opinion, is the worst thing that's happened to your army? I've been Mark from the Xenovision channel. Please comment, share, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.